Hails and welcome to Rauta. This time we go on to one of those household names of Polish extreme metal. And why I mention extreme metal, not just black metal, is because Behemoth has been here for 30 years. That's quite a majestic career. Congratulations to the band. And they're probably now bigger than ever. What is also curious is that a lot of these older releases are getting now reissue versions. Sometimes those reissues are just, new verses and all. And sometimes, like today, released by Metal Blade Records, we get these really beautiful ones. Not only a reissue, not only a remastered version, but like a beautiful new version of what is considered a classic of Polish black metal. That is Sventevith Storming Near the Baltic. A black metal release originally from 1995, which also acted as the debut album for Behemoth back in the days when things were like more raw, but also quite atmospheric in the Behemoth camp. Well, since then they have obviously gone through modern death metal and kind of a blackened death metal or definite black metal, whatever you want to call it nowadays. This is Behemoth how it was in 1995, now just in new beautiful package. Before I get into the details of this music, let's take a look at this beautiful, beautiful package. First of all, this includes 2 CDs and thick cardboard packaging, which you can see and feel, almost like feel here. And then you have dozens of pages. I won't go everything in full detail because it would take too many minutes to go through them individually, but I'll quickly browse so you get to see what's inside. These there are testimonials, there are interviews, there are old photos which will show you the guys like how it was in the back in the days, so to speak. So there are photos of these guys in their youth, not now when they're middle-aged. I'm just kidding, those guys are pretty much my age and all. But all in all, this is a really, really beautiful packaging. And having been released in such a format is, in my way, great way to get to see what's going on, etc. Basically, all the necessary information, apart from those testimonials and all, is in the end of the booklet, where you will see the track list for both of these CDs. So the second one is, as you can see, a live track focused one with a couple of non-live ones, and then you have the main event, the main dish of the course right here. And this was already released in September 2021, so not exactly fresh from the oven right now, but still relatively fresh given that this is a new version of a classic release. Now here on Metal Archive site you will get a quick look at what Behemoth has been doing past 30 years. Now if you start rolling this discography, you will see there are plenty of full-length albums, but beyond that you will see a lot of live albums, way too many in my opinion. Feels like somebody's really pumping out the well, but who I am to judge? I'm just a review guy here. And then you have these compilations which include previous stuff and all that stuff. But in my opinion, where Behemoth is, at its best, is both on live, and that doesn't mean live albums, and of course these studio albums that define the whole band in the beginning. Now I earlier featured previously, a few months ago, this From the Pagan Vastlands demo, which was then again also released in a nice packaging. So one could say if that is your first starting point, this almost feels like the second album. But technically speaking, this is the debut one, and that's what matters here, what's the topic. As you can see, throughout the years, since 1995, this has been released multiple times in various formats, tapes, vinyl, and CD. But what is the most defined edition is of course this one, because this is a 2 CD and a double vinyl version in this current form. So this is the way to do it in case you don't have the original ones, or if you want the more expanded version. So as you have it, this one features 9 tracks or 40 minutes as the original CD, more or less. And then you have this bonus CD which has these live tracks and a couple of bonus tracks included. Now the music, people are like, what it's all about, Jerry? Stop rambling about the reissue and remastered edition and whatever. Now, it's hard to think Behemoth without having the connection to early Norway's black metal. You can pretty much find dots connecting this one to, say, early Immortal and early Ember, and probably a lot of other bands as well. That is, the presence of so-called Nordic black metal is very, very much right here. And that means some of the parts are more driven, or at least have synthesizers to create part of that atmosphere. Some are kind of more raw and all that stuff. In so many ways, this is kind of something that could have been coming out from Norway around the early 90s. The production is somewhat raw, but it's not like bad. It's just kind of a typical first album. And it's kind of creating an interesting atmosphere for the whole album. It's really supporting the creation of raw black metal with then some atmospheric part. This is nowhere near what was happening in the earlier 1990s in the rawest form of black metal. This doesn't really sound like Graveland from Poland, the early works, or Ilion, or the rawest of Darkthrone. But this is also none of that, say, late 90s, more polished black metal in akin to bands like Dimmu Borgir or Embers in the Night Side Eclipse, not to mention the later ones. This actually falls pretty much between, and one could say this has something we could call authentic 1990s black metal sound. Now, it's not the best of the best, obviously, but it really, works in favor of the music here. And also, those really high-pitched screams are really, really nice. They're somewhat different than what Nirgal, the vocalist, is doing nowadays, but definitely they're something what I would call enjoyable in the context of raw end of black metal. Now, when it comes to actual songwriting, things get a little bit more trickier. Now, I am definitely saying that Sventevith is one of those albums that could be considered classics. It's definitely one of those classic Polish black metal albums because, first of all, it came quite early on, and second of all, it's quite good. But it's quite good enough what you need to have. Because this is one of those challenging the classic videos, I kind of have to put more critical eye on this and not just call it, oh yeah, it's classic, it's wonderful, it's one of those albums that came out 26 years ago, let's just celebrate it and all. The thing here is, Behemoth had a lot of nice ideas for this album already, and the preceding stuff, the demo material and all. And some of these ideas are really something like, yeah, they should have kept them going. And then again, some of the ideas are more like lukewarmish. Something like, yeah, I get it why this is considered a classic and all, but are they really that great? In my opinion, not. So for me, this is more like a decent or quite good, fair, fine release, but not the best what Behemoth has been putting out. Mind you, not either the worst. This one falls, in my opinion, between those two extremities. This kind of shows the potential what Behemoth was already showing on early on in their career. But it's not where the band really, got the best of the ideas doing and getting them done. Then again, it's kind of a given. It was the first album by the band, and not every band can be like Emperor, which released their first album also as their best one. Well, same I guess applies to Mayhem. But then again, if I would compare this to bands like Graveland or bands like Marduk and stuff like that, it gets a little bit more complicated than that. Be it as it may, in my opinion, this album has totally, deserved its new reissue, new remastered version. Not only because of the bonus tracks, not only because of the additional content in the booklet and all, but it really gives this one, the kind of extra layers of real extra value. So definitely an interesting release which kind of takes me back, if you will, to the 90s. And it's definitely worth listening still to this day. It's a classic album for a reason, just not the best out there. That's a thing that I can pretty much say, being honest and not being too brutal against this album, because after all, it's quite enjoyable. So there you have it. In case this one is missing from your compilation collection and you need this to make your Behemoth, compilation, collection, whatever, a perfect one, this is the version I would suggest. That is, unless you're fanatic about the original pressings and whatever. But yeah, give it a go. Revisit some old Behemoth and enjoy. Take care. This is Rauta signing off. Bye bye.